This is something I like to do quite often, is just to come to the end of here and just sit and ponder, especially now we're getting the DrakenSpire built up so nicely at the moment, and just sit there and have a look and think, I've got a lot to do still. And there is a lot. So I spend a lot of time pondering and wondering what we should be doing. There's all the insides to be done. Not all of it's going to be practical farms. Some of it's got to be done to make it look nice and sort of awe-inspiring. So I just sit there and just try to work out what needs to be done. But we can't do that all the time. We actually got to get on and do some work. How's this for a way of pillaring up? So most of us are used to using dirt to pillar up on. We just place a dirt block down and we're just going to jump up. But this, using trapdoors to pillar up on, this is really difficult. Alright, it's not that difficult, but you've got to balance on the edge there, and as you jump up you've got to shift and jump at the same time so that you can then place it down, and then you've got to jump again so you can jump on top of the one that already exists, and make sure that you can stand on that little ledge and narrow gap. But I found it was actually quite an effective way to build the size up on this area. So we saw me build this up on there. This is going to be my water elevator, so it was just something I just wanted to demonstrate how I achieved that, because it wasn't just a case of just like building up on the sides or anything else like that. We actually pillared up on top of the trapdoors, which I thought was something I hadn't done before. And it was like, okay, well, that's a unique way of doing it. So we'll sort of demonstrate that one off here as well. One of the other things as well that we were working on while we were out here was, as well as building all of the DrakenSpire that we've got here, we also worked on some of the airships as well. And as you'll know, I sort of mentioned the week before last I was going to build some bigger airships, and never did last week. After having built 6 a fortnight ago, that's 2 weeks ago for those of you who aren't British and don't know what a fortnight is, other than a computer game. So about 2 weeks ago, I sort of said I was going to build these big ones, but I built 6 airships in that sort of episode there, so I sort of took a little bit of a break, but I wanted to go back to building some more. So I designed a brand new design, which is the one which you can see being built up here. It's a bit longer and wider than the Ira class that we built before, and it has an extra deck as well underneath it as well. So we built a couple of different variants of this as well. So this, as you know, I've got a shipyard over in the shopping district. So this is a design that I built there. And yes, you may notice I put the fins on back to front here by accident. I had to go back down and correct the fins and put them the right way round. After a little while, we did get that sorted. But, yes, so we went in there, we built all of the design up and everything else like that. We've put it down in the shipyard, so this is available for sale now. And there's 2 variants on this one. We've got a merchant variant and we've got a military variant as well. And I started using this jetty that came out of the side there. So you can see the first one we built there was the merchant variant, what I'm calling a Kestrel class. And the second one here is the Falcon class, which is the second one we built here. This is going to be the military one. And you can see we're starting to use the jetty that was down the bottom there. But also, as well as this, I also built in the background, you remember that Lady Bex left us a message requesting that we design her a balloon rather than an airship, and so I've been working on that as well. I'm not going to show that yet, what I've been working on, but I have sent her the designs. She seems to like them, so we've got to sit down and negotiate obviously prices and when she wants it built and where she wants it built, because I know she's still working on her base over there. So we'll have more progress on that when we hear more news on that regards. But it was nice to get back and build these sort of airships here as well. I was thinking I might build a couple more out and around the place, and I had intention to build one over in the Nether as well, where we built the Nether Tower. But building the 3 of them here, and these ones take a bit more work than, like, say, the smaller airships. But I did build a 3rd one here at the end of the jetty, because there was a little space left at the end of the jetty in front of the Kestrel class there, the IDAV Kestrel. And I thought, well, there's space enough at least to build another Ira class there. So we built a new Ira class as well at the front. I love this jetty side. I think the other side of this jetty, so we have the 2 ships on this side, and I think on the other side of the jetty I'll build a big airship as well. So something that's even bigger than the IDAV community that you remember that we built over in the spawn town. So I'm trying to think how many airships we've got to have, because we've got to have quite a few now. I think there's 5 we built in that episode of 2 weeks ago. We got 3 here, so that's going to make 8. Plus, also got the IDAV community, so that's 9. There's 9 airships floating around the server at the moment that belong to our nation. I think I've got more airships now than sailing ships, so I'm going to have to build a few more sailing ships to catch it up. But this is how it all looks when it's all put together, and we run the shaders over the top there as well, so you can see the air harbour off to the left there with the airships all dotted around, and then we come over to the DrakenSpire, and I didn't quite show all the building of the entrance this side. This is the southern entrance into the DrakenSpire. It hadn't been built before. I did a 6-hour session in building it, and then I realised that when I went back to do it through replay mod, it just found it a bit difficult to try and render up the time lapse on it, so we kind of cut that little bit out at the beginning of the time lapse. But as we come in here, we can walk through the gates. It's not complete inside, we still got to do a lot of the interiors and everything as well in this area, but you can see we get this nice little entranceway to walk into, which then comes up into the central spire area, where you can see we've been doing some work, and you probably saw it on the time lapse there. And the idea is just to have this area that's going to be just awe-inspiring, you know. It's somewhere that if we need to have people get together and everything else when we're doing videos and collaborations and stuff like that, we can all pull into the same area, and you just walk in and you've got this rising sort of huge sort of height available in there, but it gives this sort of awe-inspiring feeling in there, while also providing sort of a beautiful backdrop. And we got like this pool that's down here where we went and got a load of coral. I filled it up with the coral, which thankfully we're not far away from a coral ocean, so we were able to get quite a lot of coral to fill in there, and it didn't seem to really dent the ocean too much either, which was really good. So it looks really pretty in there, and we got a load of sea pickles in there as well just to light it up. And then I've got these little floating platforms with these sort of crystals on there, a bit like the time lapse I used to do with the Elven City. prior to doing this one, and I love the way the sort of the sun rays beam through there as well as we move back and forward. That's just one of the lovely perks of this shader as well. It does so many beautiful things. And then you've got around the outside, we've got all this leafing and everything else as well. So I wanted a bit of greenery in there as well, so it felt a little bit more organic. A lot of woods and organics and everything else in this area, but still also having these great big pillars. There's still a load of archways to be built and stuff. The central bit here, that's going to be elevator shafts. So I'm going to put some soul sand at the bottom once they're done, and that will lead to 4 different levels as well up in the tower. Coming out to the airships, this is the IDAV Arcanus, which is what I named the Ira class that we built at the end of the pier there. So it was just a quick demonstration of that one, and then we're going to actually show you properly the 2 new ones that I designed as well. As I say, there's 2 new ones. They're actually technically the same design. They're just variants on the same design. One's a merchant style, as I said, and one's the military version. So this is the IDAV Kestrel, which will be the Kestrel class. So we've got a space for a little bit of cargo up on the top deck there, plus 2 cannons pointing forward. This will be then the main flight deck up there with the wheel as well for steering away, and then we have underneath there we have a little office here. We put a navigation table there so you can put some maps out there, plus put away some of your more valuable cargoes could be locked up here on the main deck itself. We obviously have the cargo hatch there that we just walked over, and then we can go down the ladder here to the middle deck, and you've got the back, this is the front rather, towards the bow. We have this little deck area here out the front here, just around the figurehead and everything as well. And then we come in, we've got 5 cannons on each side here. We've got a few beds that you saw we just passed there, some bunks, and we've got the central hatchway coming through. And at the end here we've got a small little table with some chairs, and we've also got a little bit of an open galley here as well. So there's a cooker and it's a sink and some water and stuff in there. And then just behind there we've got the captain's quarters. So it's not a massive amount of space. Like you've probably seen my galleon from a few weeks ago, and that had loads on it. But at the same time there's more space on here than the smaller airships. So there's a space for a few more crew on here. And then we just close the door there, and we go down to the bottom deck here, and you can see that this is all turned into a cargo bay at the bottom here. There's an open back towards the back here, which enables us to have like this loading area. I like this idea of having the open back on some of the bigger airships, and we have. You would have seen from the IDA community. I can't remember how many episodes ago that was. It must have been like episode 5 or 6. I can't remember. But I had a huge opening bay at the back. And like on the community, we also have an escape hatch as well. So you can click that, and we've got a bottom escape hatch that you can drop out the bottom of, which I thought was a nice little touch there as well. And then at the front here as well, because of the way it ended up being designed, you can sort of crawl through, or you can sort of go into shift mode and crawl through here, and then it opens up again. So there's a little bit extra storage space at the front of the ship as well. So yeah, that's the Kestrel class, which is the more mercantile variation. It does have a couple of cannons, obviously for defense, because you never know about airship pirates, but sometimes you need a fully military vessel, and so we have here the IDAV Falcon, which is the Falcon class, which again is the same design. It's just some variations, so we'll show you where the variations are between the two. So here at the front there's a little less space for cargo because we've got an extra 2 cannons that are plonked in there, and then if we come through to this room, which was like the navigator's quarters and everything else, navigator's room and everything else, so you can see this has now been turned into a cannon room with another 6 cannons, including 2 pointing aft and then 2 either side. We go down the ladder here. We've got in the middle deck, you can see is pretty much identical to what we had on the Kestrel class. That one is pretty much straightforward. It's still got the 5 cannons either side. But if we come then down to what was the cargo deck on the Kestrel class, here on the Falcon class, it still has again space for cargo, but in there some of the cargo space has been reduced to make way for another 6 cannons, so 3 on either side. So the ship has a bit more military capability. One of the other things we also built here was, you can see, was a Sea Pickle farm, because when we were building in the centre of the DrakenSpire, we were building that big pool and it needed sea pickles, and I realised, well, let's go build a Sea Pickle farm. So if you remember down by the galleon, we built quite a few episodes ago now, it must be about a month or 2 ago, I think, when we built that. I built this into these archways that were just tucked in here. Now I always knew I wanted to come down here and build some stuff back in these archways, and I thought this farm would fit perfectly just in one of those archways here. So you can see this thing produces quite a lot. So you pop bone meal, which we thankfully with our sweetberry farm produces an awful lot of. We pop them into either side of those chests there, and then under these hatches you got one which goes down to actually underneath the mechanisms. The other hatches hide the actual start systems, and it's just a shifting floor sort of mechanism here. I've done it slightly different to the way most people might have done it, and what we have is we actually have 2 squares with the pickles on, and then we have dispensers on either side, and as the floor shifts one way, then the bone meal fires and it redoes it, and then it shifts the opposite way, which pops those off, and then it fires another bone meal on the other side. And so every time it shifts to left and right, it's producing more and more every time. And then it just floats up to the surface where we have a water flow coming over the front, a bit like we do with the kelp farm, which just pushes all the pickles that pop up straight onto the hoppers in front of us. Such a nice simple farm, but the rates, as you can see, it produces quite a lot in a very short span of time. So it not only produced all the ones that I needed for down underneath there, but I thought I might actually go and try sell some of these as well, because we're producing so much. Like, I filled up a double chest in about 10 minutes. You know, it's that quick, unbelievably quick. But that was all the work that we've done on the base this week, and yeah, I was quite impressed by the end of the week actually how much we did. We did quite a bit, but there's still a lot to go. So I got plans to put in more floors as well into the DrakenSpire tower and stuff like that as well. But the other thing is, I'm feeling that we need to do a bit more as well with the rest of the server. We need to do a bit more collaboration, so we're going to look to do that. We'll start reaching out to some people, start looking at things that we can do together, which also means doing a bit more back towards central spawn town as well, checking in over there as well. And yeah, you can see we came over here, and as I came out the portal, I noticed actually this was here. Now, we've seen this before. I don't know if I've shown it on screen before actually, but this is Rat Dog's car that he moves it around the shopping district and finds somewhere to park it, and it's basically a car boot sale. It's a fantastic idea, way of him just selling odds and ends and everything else, and everything's like a diamond for a stack, for a diamond per square sort of thing, which is pretty good. I'm not so sure about the car being parked so close to the water there. I hope his brakes are good, that it doesn't just roll off into the water there itself. But I did notice looking in there actually that he had a stack of magma blocks, which was like, oh, actually I could do with that. So yeah, I quickly I nabbed that while I was in the area, and it was there. I thought, yeah, but there we are. I'm trying to reduce, as I said last week, my spending at the moment, but that was something like I put down a massive load of magma blocks between mine and Mighty High's shop the other week, and I used up a whole stack, so I needed to replace that as well. But saying that, having spent this week, and we were talking about how we weren't getting much income coming in, we do actually, I didn't notice, we actually also had a load of diamonds sitting here waiting for us. There was 18 diamonds waiting for us in this shop here, which was really awesome. And we were talking about selling sea pickles. I came down here, I built myself a little sea pickle shop next door to my gunpowder store, and as you can see in there, we've already sold 3 stacks, which we're doing 3 stacks for a diamond, and so we got a diamond piece there as well, so we'd already done some as well. And here's something I want to tell you about, guys. I discovered recently, thanks to Lady Bex letting us know this, I was getting everything wrong about the end. So this is our end dimension, and I couldn't work out how to use the ender. I kept on coming in here, running up these steps, thinking, all right, I've got to shoot the enderman that I might see around up here with a bow, and when I shoot him with a bow, then I got to run underneath the little blocks in the center where we had like there's another portal in there, and that's where we kill him. And I could only get a couple of times. I thought that's not a really good XP farm and everything else. All this time I didn't realise actually when you come through here I had to turn around and come down this tunnel, and this is the XP farm, not what I was doing before. So I feel a bit of a fool at the moment. The other thing I did as well, as I was popping this, I was flying around the shopping district, I heard some music playing somewhere, and I was like, oh, what's going on there then? I realised that Gray was down here. I don't want to show too much what he's doing here, or the songs that he was making and everything else, but what I would say is, don't do what I did here. I completely forgot this wasn't a prank. It was just me just completely forgetting how note blocks work. And I sort of walked up and yeah, I thought I'll start playing some of the note blocks, forgetting that changes the notes. So you ended up having to go back behind us and correcting me playing on his note blocks that he was setting up. It must have been so annoying. I'm so sorry, Gray. I didn't mean to do it. It was just I completely forgot. That's how note blocks work in Minecraft. But there we go. That was our builds this week. Thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, if you've liked what you've seen here, don't forget to sub. We are continuing to try and release an episode once a week. That's the aim anyway. And yeah, we'll see how things go. Now, I've given myself a bit of a longer intro here as well. Intro? This is an outro. A bit of a longer outro, so because I always feel like I'm rushing at the end to suddenly get everything out and say goodbye to everyone and say, don't forget to check the guys out below and everything else like that. But yeah, so I thought I'd give myself more space this time to be able to have a bit more to say. I'm running out of things to say, so I don't know what to say now. Well, oh, I've got this really important thing I need to tell you guys about. Just